I'm Rob Luciani, Chair of the Jobs, Economy, and Economic Development Task Force. Our work this year continues to look at the impacts of COVID-19. More specifically, how it has accelerated several major economic changes, including increasing use of telework across many industry sectors, increased emphasis of e-commerce and a growing logistics industry, automation and adoption of new technologies across all industry sectors, and rising residential real estate market activity amid signs of migration out of larger cities. This report explores how these trends are impacting commercial and residential real estate markets and economic development in Northeastern Pennsylvania. How the region responds to these economic shifts will impact Northeastern Pennsylvania's economic competitiveness as a post-pandemic economy comes into view. There are vast implications for the office market in a post-pandemic world. The shift toward remote work is perhaps the most prominent change in the future of work. Facilitated by the rise of communication technologies, the workplace and the home have somewhat merged. Most major cities' office markets have been ravaged by the COVID-19 pandemic. And if remote or hybrid work continues and leases expire over the next several years, the situation will worsen, with businesses that relied on the daily pedestrian traffic buckling under the lack of business. The pandemic has also resulted in a reduced demand for housing in some metro areas. People are opting to move out of the city and away from the real or perceived risks posed by living in such populous areas. While the percentage of jobs that will convert to permanently remote is unknown, variations across industry groups are certain. Telework is most frequently associated with a higher wage, educated, white-collar workforce. In Lackawanna and Luzerne counties, nearly 58,000 jobs are projected to have the potential for telework, representing 28% of Lackawanna County employment and 26% of Luzerne County. 10 neighboring counties had lower rates of telework, 23% overall. For our region's downtowns and business parks, increased adoption of telework will certainly reshape the demand for office space, while market conditions could weaken for some retail, restaurant, and service space as well. The pandemic has also spurred significant shifts in where workers live, largely driven by decreasing need to live in close proximity to one's employment. Workers could choose to live in smaller cities, suburbs, or rural areas to take advantage of lower costs of living. Based on these trends, Northeastern Pennsylvania has seen increased rents amid an inflow of residents from larger and more expensive metro areas since the beginning of this pandemic. Whether this increase will be sustained is a long-term question for us to monitor. Nonetheless, Lackawanna and Luzerne counties appear to be on the receiving end of the pandemic-related wave of migration that has been called the Great Reshuffle. A potentially growing population in the region would also be meaningful to the regional economy's workforce needs. While existing workforce development efforts will be necessary to encourage labor force participation and to equip workers with the necessary skills and training to meet market needs, permanent migration into the area would provide a helpful new source of workers. In summary, the future of work is likely more workers spending less time in face-to-face workplaces, whether fully remote or a hybrid format. And there will be impacts on demand for office space, as well as impacts on businesses that rely on office workers. These impacts will likely be greatest in areas with the highest concentration of teleworkable jobs, which tend to be concentrated disproportionately in higher wage, higher education, white-collar industries. Targeted intervention will be needed for communities that are hard hit by the loss of economic activity due to remote work. State and federal economic development and urban revitalization programs already in existence should be sustained and expanded where necessary. In urban downtowns, reinforcing of economic development strategies will be necessary to shift focus away from attracting office tenants toward providing housing options to new residents migrating into the area. It will also be important to capitalize on business sectors that will likely continue to grow, like e-commerce. E-commerce plays to our region's strengths, but growth locally depends on continued investment in transportation and ensuring adequate supply of land for development. Thank you.